Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. In the suffocating heat of a southern grocery store that felt more like a prison than a workplace, betrayal was lurking behind every aisle. At 21, I had already seen the darkest corners of corporate greed, but nothing prepared me for the true depth of deception and heartache that awaited. Leaving this damn store wasn't just a decision, it was a necessity fueled by the poison of betrayal that coursed through its very foundation. It started innocently enough. I was just a kid when I first stepped into the fluorescent-lit hallways of a grocery store that sounded suspiciously like Pringles. Freshly 18 and naive, I was excited to earn my own money and gain some independence. Yet, the innocent thrill of starting my first job quickly turned malignant, infecting me with a toxic mix of anger, despair, and hunger for revenge. Over the 3 years of my employment, I had worked almost every position imaginable, each one more grueling than the last, but nothing could prepare me for the betrayal that would unfold that fateful day. It was a stifling afternoon when I, now 19, and with 3 years of suffering tucked under my belt, took charge of the Asian deli station. My brothers worked alongside me. I had come to trust my coworkers like family, believing that we were united against the corporate machinery that shamelessly ground us down. Little did I know that trust would be a weapon that would cut the deepest. As I knelt to grab sauces from the low fridge, a sharp pain hit the back of my head, like an intrusive thought that whispered ominously something wasn't right. Moments later, the world around me blurred. Color drained from my vision as I staggered back, my heart pounding in a chaotic rhythm. It was as if betrayal itself had settled in my bones, tightening its grip as panic surged through my veins. The sweet, elderly woman who always seemed to be the soul amidst our chaotic kitchen rushed to my side, her concern wrapping around me like a warm hug. "Are you okay?" she implored, her voice trembling. I didn't know if I was okay. I felt like I was being crushed under an invisible weight. "Yes," I croaked, my voice barely a whisper, masking the rising dread. It escalated rapidly. The panic skated over the surface of my psyche, and when I stumbled and caught myself against the cold counter, I knew it was dire. The room tilted, and I lost my grip on reality as I slumped into the arms of one of my brothers. The blaring lights of the store felt like a spotlight revealing my vulnerability. "What's happening to him?" another employee snapped, disdain dripping from her words like poison. "He's just as weak as they come." The laughter that followed her remark echoed in my ears, chilling me to the bone. How could they laugh when something so vile was happening right under their noses? It became painfully clear. They were willing to let me die in their store than admit they'd let something terrible happen. I felt the world rush past me, anxious hands helping me to the indoor cafe. But even then, the fear tightened its noose around my throat. I could barely contain the tears as they streamed down my cheeks, my heart hammering against my chest as my mind fought against the despair gripping it. I could sense the betrayal pressing down on me, betrayal from the very people who should have protected me. Just when I thought my family's safety depended on me, a flicker of hope appeared in the form of a familiar face, McDonald's manager, a guy I knew only too well from our food intersections. He didn't just see me as another employee, he saw an ally in distress. Our banter turned serious as he reviewed my symptoms with concern etched in his features. He approached the front of the store, and for the moment, I felt a glimmer of validation. "Something's wrong," he demanded, his voice echoing authority. But then came the cruel twist of fate I had never considered. Instead of seeking help, the front management dragged me into their office, a surreal punishment masking itself as keeping an eye on me. I was trapped. The swivel chair felt more like a prison than a refuge while waves of betrayal crashed around me. My brothers were told to return to work, and I was isolated, stripped of support. I texted my dad, the plea for help barely formed in my shaky fingers. "I'm scared, Dad. I need you." I could feel the walls closing in as I waited. What would happen when my dad arrived? Would he be as angry as I was? Or would I have to swallow the bitter taste of betrayal alone? The minutes crawled, and with each passing second, I felt the weight of my unvoiced fears suffocating me. Finally, he burst through the door, my indomitable father, cloaked in the aura of strength that only he could exude. He walked toward me with the certainty of a man who had broken walls for far less. The moment he crossed those flimsy office doors, everything changed. His reputation as a contractor made an opportune ally against the soulless greed of the management. The look on his face when he learned the truth was nothing short of terrifying. "What happened to my kid?" His voice was calm, but tension rolled off him like the quiet before a thunderstorm. My manager fumbled over her words, her own fear visible as she downplayed the situation. I watched as anger blossomed on my father's face. He was graciously fueled by the righteous indignation of a father protecting his child. The contractor was summoned, and with him came the regulations, the laws that had been broken, and the negligence that had turned from harmful to criminal. Standing behind my dad, I felt like a child again, my heart racing at the anger radiating off him. I knew he would fight for me. He demanded to see safety documentation regarding the chemical that had poisoned me, and the contractor's inability to produce them only layered more betrayal over this festering wound. With each click of the safety sheets, my father tore apart their lies until nothing remained. They unleashed their pathetic attempts to placate him as my throat tightened in anticipation. "What was it?" he asked. And when they finally revealed the industrial degreaser, I could feel fury erupt with the name. It was meant for factories, officially marked as dangerous, yet here in this store, it was a weapon employed against us. As the gravity of this revelation crashed over me like a tidal wave, I reeled back. This wasn't merely negligence. It was an act of betrayal with no remorse. My father's eyes darkened as he laid the facts bare. They had put me, my brothers, and every employee in danger, turning a blind eye to the reckless decisions peddled down to them. But my rage spiked with intensity. They would get away with this. I could feel my heart racing as my dad sent me to grab my belongings. With a fire igniting within me, I thought of how, even in my turmoil, I could gather evidence against them. How this could turn into my revenge. This was the start. The first step in ripping apart the veil under which these corrupt managers flourished. Not only would I leave, but I would carve out my vendetta. As the last pieces of the puzzle fell together, the rear operations, the callousness of the managers that peddled underhanded schemes, I envisioned unleashing hell upon them. They would pay. Through blurred vision, I stumbled into the back, my heart racing faster than ever. Managing to gather my backpack, my equipment both a reminder and a symbol of betrayal, I felt sickened. How could they stand there, the people I once considered family, and allow this to happen? How could they choose money over safety, and so casually ignore my cries for help? Just as I gathered lucidity to part, I saw my manager blocking my siblings from coming to me, the realization burning in my chest. Anger and fear intertwined, suffocating me. I watched as she demanded explanations, grinning smugly, thinking she'd won. But what she didn't know was that her betrayal would ripple infinitely, an endless cycle bound to come back to her. My father's voice shattered the tension as he stood before her, a rock amidst the storm. He stood there, arms crossed, ready to protect his family, to protect me. He made it abundantly clear that the betrayal I faced would not be brushed aside. They had crossed a line, and my fury began to bubble over, a relentless tide ready to engulf them whole. I had already begun plotting my revenge against those who wear the mask of innocence while committing atrocities behind it. In that moment, my heart swelled with a longing for justice that would not rest. I would make them feel my pain, return the very betrayal they had inflicted upon me and my brothers. Walking out of that store, I knew I had left more than a job behind. I had shed the layers of a broken system, a mirage of safety and community that had ultimately sought to bury me. I would never forget their faces, nor the betrayal sewn into the fabric of their smiles. I would ensure that they would pay for allowing corruption to blossom within their walls. For every piece of rotten meat they sold, every slice of human decency they cut away, their silence would not protect them from my wrath. My revenge had merely just begun. The quiet hum of fluorescent lights tingled in my ears as I stepped out of the store, the air heavy with the weight of betrayal. I walked by the parking lot, clutching my backpack, my heart hammering with a potent mix of rage and determination, a twisted resolve tightening around me like an iron grip. Each step away from Pringles felt like a heartbeat marked by thoughts of revenge. My brothers stood outside, faces painted with bewilderment and concern. They hurried toward me, their colorful aprons replaced with casual clothes that signaled a final break from this suffocating establishment. "What the hell happened in there?" one of my brothers demanded, his voice edged with urgency. I could hardly contain my anger as I blurted out the truth, the reality of our poisoned environment crashing down like a waterfall. They listened in shock as I detailed my father's arrival, the discovery of the industrial degreaser, the sheer negligence drenching every inch of that store. "We can't let this slide," I concluded, the fervor rising within me like a phoenix from the ashes. My brothers exchanged glances, their expressions echoing a silent oath. They were in it together, another layer crafted in the fabric of our bond. We were warriors, now fighting a battle against an enemy that thought it could get away with corporate sin. Back at home, I could see my father sitting at the kitchen table, a storm cloud of contemplation casting shadows over his face. He lifted his gaze as we entered, the fire that once burned for me now igniting within him for the injustice of the situation. "What's our plan?" he asked, setting a determined tone that resonated through my bones. I took a seat, feeling a mixture of relief and rage as we began brainstorming, gathering everything we had on Pringles and its corrupt practices over the years. The vultures of betrayal had nestled in every corner, and now it was time to reveal them under the light of scrutiny. "I want to expose them. They've been operating beneath the radar for too long," I said, with my brothers nodding in solemn agreement. So we began building our arsenal of evidence, photos, receipts, and witness accounts, all meticulously documented. The plan began to morph into a cohesive narrative. Their downfall would come from the very betrayals they had inflicted on us and countless others. Every scrap of evidence was a brick in the wall of retribution rising against the behemoth of corporate malice. As days turned into weeks, I poured my life into this project, fueled by anger with the fervor of a wildfire. I contacted former employees who shared their harrowing stories, tales of harassment, negligence, and moral decay. Each conversation suffocated me further with horror and disbelief. It was a deep spiral leading me further into betrayal. The systematic assault of corporate greed had not only ruined lives, but it also left them fractured, battling their demons alone. We connected through an underground forum, sharing our testimonies, nearly a cohort of avengers pooling our energy into a tidal wave of righteous indignation. Then came the day we had long awaited. Armed with our evidence and empowered voices, we prepared to face the company. My father had connections with local media that we hoped could amplify our outcries. He helped us secure a meeting with a local newspaper renowned for unearthing corporate corruption. We huddled together, our faces a mix of fear and excitement, as we entered the conference room, flanked by an investigative journalist eager to hear our story. As I commenced narrating the shambles of experiences, I saw the journalist's brows furrow in disbelief. I touched on the moments of betrayal, the managers who turned a blind eye to our suffering, while ensuring the company could continue to rake in profits. Each word was a dagger aimed to expose them, each sentence a proclamation against their insidious reign. The journalist was all in after our meeting. He promised to follow up, ensure on-the-ground investigations commenced, deep dives into the operations, and expose their corruption. The words sent tectonic ripples through my being. This was no longer about me. Our suffering was a collective action thrust upon a monstrous corporation that had come to embody the very essence of betrayal. But the bleak shadows of hassle awaited outside. As if fate itself conspired against us, the following week brought a chilling attack, one that came from those with vested interests at stake. Pringles didn't take kindly to our little escapade. Whispers of intimidation surfaced. Cars were vandalized, threatening letters slipped under doors. One evening as I returned home from a meeting, I found my brother sitting on the porch, his expression shadowed with fear. "Jake, we need to talk." I approached him carefully, the air thick with an unspoken tension. "What's happened?" He hesitated before speaking again, his voice barely a whisper. "Someone broke into our house. They wrecked things. Left a note." I felt my pulse quicken, a dark wave rising within me. "What did it say?" His eyes glistened with dread, and he handed me the crumpled paper. "You should know your place. Don't stir the pot, or more than memories will be taken from you." The water simmered, the primal rage boiling within me, and I clutched the note tightly. In that instant, a growing clarity seeped into my mind. They wanted to intimidate us, silence our cries. But it had the opposite effect, crystallizing our desire for revenge. It was time to take it a step further. If this was a game of threats, I was ready to play. In a twisted way, I felt exhilarated. This was no longer just about protecting myself. It wasn't about my life getting smeared under the boot of apathy. It was about anger directing piercing arrows straight back into the heart of Pringles. That night, I fueled my anger into a precise plan. Every single moment of betrayal would be funneled into an intricate act of revenge. We wouldn't just expose their wrongdoings. We would intricately weave tales of their corruption, sinking each facet back into the boiling cauldron of their greed. As dawn broke, my brothers and I drew up our manifesto, a video expose that showcased the truth of their underbelly. We gathered clips from former employees, physical evidence, footage of the derelict conditions we had worked under. We merged those accounts into a powerful visual statement. It would be shared online, a shot of poison that would seep through their ranks. On release day, I felt a hair-raising excitement unfold as I checked our views progressing, a gut-wrenching feeling building with every number. People were tuning in, and so was the media. With every comment, I felt the energy grow, a camaraderie with those who had felt the grip of the corrupt system tighten around their throats. Then came the phone call from the journalist. He had news that Pringles was on the defensive, terrified of backlash. You've triggered the goldmine of their darkest secrets. All those hidden practices are bound to surge to the surface. I couldn't suppress a smile. They were unraveling, and so many lives could be saved from the schemery. The taste of triumph was bittersweet, a direct response to every taunt and failed sanitization of their crimes. Within 2 weeks, the fallout was unprecedented. Media coverage exploded, each channel picking up the story like a roaring wildfire. I watched as the company scrambled to try and save face. Managers were fired, the corporation issued apologies coated in shame, yet I knew better. The remorse dripped from their words like oil. The truth stung too deep. Then came the day of reckoning as I received an anonymous tip-off about an employment opportunity within the operational headquarters of Pringles. My heart raced. Revenge could be so close. A final opportunity to deliver the ultimate blow directly into the heart of their corruption. I donned a disguise of professionalism, securing an interview under a false identity while harboring the truth of my persona deep inside. This gambit was risky, but in shedding my true identity, I hoped to pry open more corruption residing within the walls that had trapped me. I turned everything over in my mind for days leading up to the meeting, rehearsing the scene like a play. I was ready to walk among my enemies to face Margot, the manager who had shattered my life. On that fateful day, my heart raced in rhythm with the anticipation of revenge. The corporate office exuded sterile charm, yet I felt that same suffocating air. Margot was there, clad in her polished exterior. She didn't recognize me at first. My disguise had worked. "Welcome, thanks for coming in today," she exclaimed. All show, laughter laced with cruel undertones. My breath steadied. Each word was an echo of resentment. She thought she had won. I would prove her wrong. "Thank you for having me, Margot," I replied, forcing a friendly smile that felt sickening on my lips. As we moved through the interview, I saw the disdain in her eyes when she referenced my past. "Is it true you had to leave under peculiar circumstances?" Her voice was thick with confidence, veiling the fear I knew simmered beneath her facade. Every instinct urged me to deliver the truth painfully. I pushed forward, not retreating from the scripted hatred. "I left because of your negligence. You failed to protect those who trusted you." I leaned into her, the steel in my voice carving through the air. It was a purposeful act of defiance. The look in her eyes faltered, the masks shattered as I unleashed my wrath, every ounce of bottled pain spilling forth in a tidal wave. "You think you can sweep it all under the rug? I'm here now to dismantle your empire from the inside out." In that moment, I saw the reflection of a woman cornered. I leaned closer, the tension electric. "You have no idea what I'm capable of, Margot. You will be the architect of your downfall." Her eyes flashed with alarm as she stepped back but quickly recomposed herself, the bravado returning. Yet, there was no place where she could hide from the intensity now bubbling between us. "I'll see you try," she snapped in frustration, her voice dripping with false bravado. But I knew the truth. She was the architect of her own demise. My reality would only destroy her. The plan was simple. I was going to expose her, stripping her down bare in front of everyone with the system she had thrived upon, all of it. In the weeks following the meeting, I gathered everything, her flaws, her mistakes, and the secrets buried under lies. I captured some conversations, collated evidence that would tear the veil away. Soon, the entire world would see Margot for what she truly was. Each piece fell into place, including a flawless plan to disseminate the information widely, hitting at the heart of Pringles and obliterating Margot's reputation. The final blow landed like a freight train. I mapped it out, planned it meticulously. I squared my shoulders, determining when and how to act, for the time was near, climaxing into an explosive revelation. On the day everything was set to leak, I posted my video. Every accusation filmed and unfiltered. Margot was not only responsible for my processes of betrayal, but also bared the weight of corruption looming larger than life. I released each damning fallacy as her secrets came to life before countless viewers. As the post trended, I could feel my heart racing with anticipation, waiting for redemption to roll through in waves of frozen confrontation. The views ticked up, and I braced myself for the exhilarating discomfort of the impending unmasking. Then came the knock on the door. My father stood there, the quintessential embodiment of pride and certainty echoing through me as I opened it. "Are we ready to witness the fallout?" he asked with an almost poetic revelation. As the first notifications rang in, I played the video on the big screen, reveling in the beauty of betrayal laid bare for all to view. Everything came together in a chaotic orchestra, a symphony of chaos that I'd orchestrated. In that moment, all the fear and anxiety melted away, leaving behind a singular truth that resonated stronger than any betrayal inflicted upon me. I refused to allow myself, my family, and my brothers to drown in their toxic practices. The wave of revenge surged through us as I watched Margot's plans turn to dust with every view ticking up. The devastation unraveling beneath her like a rug pulled from underfoot, an unforgiving severance from her throne. You want to see how it feels to drive a man to despair? Let's see how it feels to lose everything, Margot. I whispered softly into the void that connected us like a tether, severed at last. As her wrongful reign crumbled and the realization struck her, I imagined her coming to grips with the betrayal of the very system she had relied upon. The backlash drew unexpectedly quick responses. Iron whales of accountability flooded every facet of her. She would stand before the public, laid raw against the stones of her past, stripped of the pride she carried every day in her projected facade. The bustling media buzzed with reports of firing, betrayal, and a systematic collapse, an echo of every betrayal I'd endured, turning into a roar of vindication. In the final act of my vengeance, I opened my phone one last time, and a chilling voice broke through the ether, a call from my father as he witnessed the end of a journey narrated through pain and anger. "How does it feel to deliver the final blow?" he asked, a steadying presence amid the tumult. I let a smirk break free, feeling like a buoyant veil untethered at last, like that moment when you first turn the key in the ignition and hear the engine roar to life, but amplified 1,000-fold. The smile faltered as I saw the grim reality. The bitter acknowledgement that the battle against betrayal never finishes. It just evolves to form new beginnings. As I leaned back, watching the cracks grow beneath one toxic empire, I silently declared my truth, echoing through the chambers of memory. Never forget to exact your revenge, never relinquish the power to reclaim what's rightfully yours. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like.